If you've watched Sons of Anarchy, and let's be honest, most of you have, you probably think you know what life inside a motorcycle club looks like. Raids, shootouts, police obsession, drama every single day. I watched Sons of Anarchy myself, 3-4 times through, and I lived the real version for 3 to 4 years as a full patch member and secretary on the board of a 1%er club. So let me tell you what they got completely wrong, and at the end, the one thing they accidentally got right. Spoiler, it's not what you'd expect. Let's start with the biggest one. In Sons of Anarchy, the police are practically a main character. They're obsessed with Sam Crow, raids, surveillance, undercover agents infiltrating the club, constant pressure, constant confrontation. It makes for great television. Here's what actually happens. The police watch you from a distance. That's it. In my entire time in the club, years of meetings, runs, parties, events, there were no raids, no dramatic descents, no confrontations at the clubhouse. The only regular interactions with law enforcement happened in traffic. They'd pull you over, ask for your documents, run your plates, and send you on your way. No abuse, no power plays, no SOA-style intimidation tactics. And here's the detail that would never make it into a TV show. When we rode in groups of 6, 7, 8 bikes with patches on our backs, they didn't even stop us. They'd see the colors, see the numbers, and keep driving. But there was one moment that stuck with me. We were at a club party. Good night. Music, people, the usual. And then someone noticed a car parked nearby. 2 men inside. Civilian clothes. Just sitting there. Too still. Too quiet. Not fitting into the scene at all. You develop a sense for these things after a while. I walked over to our president and said, "Those guys are cops, plain clothes." He looked over, nodded, and then, without hesitation, he walked straight to their car, knocked on the window, and said, "Hey boys, working hard?" Just like that. Calm, almost friendly. That's the real relationship between a 1%er club and law enforcement. Not a war, not a chase. Two sides that know exactly where the line is, and a president who wasn't afraid to acknowledge it. The second thing Sons of Anarchy gets completely wrong is what a normal day actually looks like. In the show, every single day is an event, a deal gone wrong, a betrayal. Someone dies. The club is always in motion, always in crisis. Here's a typical weekday in a real 1%er club. Everyone goes to work. I'm completely serious. Members, prospects, everyone had a normal job. You'd wake up, go to work, come home. The club didn't live together in some compound running operations around the clock. The most common interaction on a Tuesday afternoon was this. You stop at a gas station. Another member pulls up on his bike. You see the patch, you nod, you hug, you have a coffee, you smoke a cigarette, you talk about nothing in particular, and then you go home. That's it. That's the day. One of my clearest memories from those years is an evening at the clubhouse where absolutely nothing happened. We sat around, rock music in the background, drinks in hand, no drama, no crisis, no cinematic moment, just men in a room doing nothing spectacular. And honestly, those were some of the best evenings, because that's what brotherhood actually looks like most of the time, not explosions, coffee at a gas station, rock music at the clubhouse, a hug from someone who doesn't need a reason to show up. When you walked into a restaurant or a bar wearing your cut, people noticed. Some looked away quickly, some stared a little too long, some were genuinely uncomfortable. You could see it in their body language the moment you walked through the door. But the reactions that always stayed with me were the kids. We'd be parked somewhere, bikes lined up, cuts on our backs, and a group of children would walk by with their parents, and without fail you'd hear it. "Oh my God, Sons of Anarchy!" Every single time. Didn't matter what club, didn't matter what country. Vests and patches meant one thing to an entire generation: Sam Crow, which is both flattering and completely absurd at the same time. The show has burned itself so deeply into popular culture that for millions of people, all motorcycle clubs are Sons of Anarchy. Real ones, riding clubs, 1%ers, independent clubs, that's actually the show's biggest achievement. It made the world pay attention to a culture that had existed for decades in the shadows. even if it got most of it wrong. Now I want to tell you about something Sons of Anarchy did show, but couldn't fully capture. A brother died. I won't go into details about how or why. That's not my story to tell. What I will tell you is what happened next. Members came from every chapter, from across the country. Nobody called a meeting. Nobody sent a formal notice. They just came, because that's what you do. The coffin was carried by officers from different chapters of the club, together. And when the procession moved through the streets, 40, maybe 50 motorcycles, maybe more, the police gave us an escort. They blocked traffic, cleared the road, so we could ride together one last time without interruption. And at a certain moment, you'll know this if you've ever been to a biker funeral, the engines opened up, full throttle, 50 motorcycles, all at once, roaring as loud as they could. Not chaos, not aggression, a farewell. The loudest, most honest farewell I've ever witnessed. Sons of Anarchy showed you biker funerals. They got the emotion right, but they couldn't give you the sound of 50 engines wide open on an empty road. That's something you have to live to understand. So what did Sons of Anarchy actually get right? The code. There is a real code, unwritten in many ways, but absolutely real. Rules about loyalty, about how you speak to a brother, about what you do and don't do with information you're trusted with. SOA captured that, the brotherhood. When you walked into a room full of your brothers you embraced, you called each other brother, not as a figure of speech, but as a statement of who you were to each other. That part is real, deeply real. The belonging, that feeling of walking into a room and knowing, without needing anyone to tell you, that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. SOA understood that feeling, and the hierarchy. The respect for rank is real. You don't speak over your president, there's an order, and everyone understands it. Where the show went wrong wasn't in inventing these things. It went wrong in making every single day feel like the climax of a movie. Real club life is 90% ordinary. Coffee, music, a hug at a gas station, rock music at the clubhouse on a quiet Tuesday night, and 10% of something you'll carry with you for the rest of your life. 50 engines wide open on an empty road. Sons of Anarchy only showed you the 10% and called it the whole story. Sons of Anarchy is a great show. I've watched it 4 times, but it's a show. Written by people who researched this world from the outside. I lived it from the inside, and the difference between those two perspectives is everything. Next video, the real hierarchy inside a 1%er club. Every rank, what it actually means, and what it costs to move up. If you want the real story, subscribe.